fit a brick in between my index finger and middle finger.
I definitely could. I think I could fit 2 bricks between my index finger and middle finger.
You could fit 2 bricks between your index finger and your middle finger?
Definitely. Not long ways.
This is the most mental thing you've ever said, and you've said many mental things.
Some bricks. I'm happy to go to B&Q and prove this, and we can put them in the show notes.
2 bricks between your index and middle finger.
Oh, index and middle finger?
Yes.
No, thumb and middle finger.
I don't even think you could do that. So, what have you been up to this month?
Well, I think you know that last weekend I went to a smashing little Halloween party in London.
Oh, yeah, is that right?
Yeah, it was in Stratford.
Yeah, how was it?
Not everybody dressed up, if I'm honest.
I dressed up.
Well, hardly.
I did. I was Pumpkin King. Or a pumpkin. Literally a pumpkin.
But you were just wearing Sainsbury's bags.
Yeah, and I had a pumpkin on my head. I had to carve a pumpkin. An actual pumpkin.
I'm just saying, you know, I travelled 2 hours on a train down to London and across London with a cardboard barrel.
I knew. This is the reason you want to bring it up, is you want to get your costume in.
Well, I just want to get my costume in the show notes.
Yeah, exactly. So, to the listeners, Adam went as Pop-Up Pirate. Well, explain to the listeners what Pop-Up Pirate is, for those unfamiliar with it.
Pop-Up Pirate is a children's party, not really a party game, just like a children's game. And it's basically a plastic barrel with lots of little slots in it. And inside there's a pirate on a spring. And children take it in turns, sticking swords into the slots until the pirate pops up.
Yeah, at which point, is that the loser or the winner of the game?
That's the loser.
So does everybody else just win?
Yeah.
Or are they eliminated from the game and then you play another round until there's only one victor?
Well, I think that's house rules.
Yeah, those are the rules I'd play.
You can create so many little mini games with Pop-Up Pirate.
Can you?
Well, you've just came up with one.
I've only ever played the vanilla version.
Oh.
I think. Anyway,
No elimination.
I did have a Pop-Up Pirate as a child.
Yeah.
My mum's probably still got it somewhere in the attic or something. She's got all of the old games that we used to play. The times of Pop-Up Pirate. Life in the age of Pop-Up Pirate.
Yeah, I thought it was nostalgic. I mean, not like traditional Halloween scary, but...
So you were the pirate, and you had a big old cardboard barrel around you, and cardboard swords, with slots in the barrel that the swords could go into. So there's a nice little GIF, a boomerang. I think the cool kids are calling it nowadays, boomerang. I'll put that in the show notes for anybody who wants to see. I think we have talked about your fancy dress costumes before, because we talked about
I am known to put the effort in, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. We talked about the clownfish in the anemone in an earlier episode, which was absolutely fantastic. I think that's your best work, personally.
That's because you didn't see it in person, unlike the Pop-Up Pirate costume.
Yeah, maybe, perhaps.
What have you been up to?
Other than that, I've not really been up to much, to be honest. Playing Red Dead Redemption 2. Oh, I hate video games.
I don't hate video games. I hate people playing them.
Well, I like Red Dead Redemption 2. Although it is sucking up a significant portion of my life.
Yeah. Well, apparently you can't just like go up to something and press X and it'll do the task. You have to build a fire or, skin an animal.
Yeah, you have to procure ingredients and then cook them on campfires. There is a lot of that, actually. But, I mean, it's great. I spent about 2 hours on Sunday, I think it was, trying to find a beaver in the northern regions of the game because I needed a perfect beaver pelt for an upgrade to my satchel. So I was hunting this beaver for
2 hours?
Yeah, about that. It was ridiculous, actually.
And you wouldn't kill a beaver in real life?
No, I know, but the times were different then, weren't they?
Well, I still think it's pretty bad if people were just killing beavers to upgrade the satchel.
I don't. When you kill the beaver...
To upgrade their satchel, what was wrong with your current satchel?
I couldn't fit enough valuables in it. So by getting the beaver involved, I could upgrade the amount of valuables that I could carry. So it was quite good. It was quite good. Yeah. So I wanted to revisit something that we brought up last episode.
Okay.
I said that the field of paleontology has entered a golden age with around 50 new dinosaur species discovered every year. That's almost one a week. You were quite doubtful that it was really this frequent, weren't you?
Yeah, I don't remember specifically, but it sounds like the kind of thing I'd say.
Oh, you were doubtful, my friend. Mr. Doubtful. So, without further ado, it's time for...
What is the person saying?
Dinosaur of the Month.
Oh, dinosaur. Okay, well, I've got dinosaur news.
Do you? Well, I hope it's not this, because I'm about to do Dinosaur of the Month.
No, I don't think it will be.
All right. So that's our new jingle for Dinosaur of the Month. So this month, paleontologists in Argentina have unearthed a new species called Levacatosaurus agrioense.
Catchy.
Like the titular creature from our previous episode, Dreadnoughtus, L. agrioense is a sauropod. The diggers found a lot of cranial bones from one adult and 2 juveniles, estimating that the adult would have been around 12 metres in length. That's about 40 feet. So a big old thing. I don't know why I'm doing it as if I'm like reporting on this, actually.
I know, I felt like I couldn't interrupt.
All right, I'll just go normal. So together, the bones that they found make up an almost complete skull, which is very rare in the field of paleontology.
Well, it's the golden age. Out of that whole 40-foot creature, they've managed to get 1 skull.
And 3 individuals as well, 1 adult, 2 juveniles.
Combined to make 1 skull.
And the paleontologists were very surprised to find this dinosaur because they believe the area was a vast desert region when it was alive, with scant water and therefore little plant life. So it's unusual for a sauropod to be found in a region of the world where those were the conditions.
Yeah.
So, perhaps this species evolved to cope with the dry conditions. Maybe it was the sauropodian analogue of a camel.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, that concludes Dinosaur.
Well, I just don't know what you want me to say. I don't think you have any proof that it's anything like a camel.
No, I mean...
They could be completely wrong about what the weather was like.
This is what
They could have just dated the bones wrong.
Yeah, all right. I'm calling it an analogue to the camel, as in a species that's evolved to deal with the harsh, dry, and, perhaps it had a hump. I'm not saying it did, but maybe it did.
Well, it's got 40 feet for them.
What aftershave do you wear? Do you wear aftershave?
It's called Next Code Red. It was out of a set that my mum got me for Christmas. I think it smells nice.
They're great, aren't they, those sets?
Well, it was from Next, though, so... I don't care about fragrance.
Do you not?
I'm like, obviously not.
Why?
Because I just think I smell all right anyway.
I actually think you smell quite nice.
Thank you.
I remember when we lived together, you put me onto the red right guard, which was a lovely scent.
Did I? I never use. I think right guard leaves too much powder. Whereas I think Nivea... No, not Nivea. What is it?
Lynx.
L'Oreal. The, white one. With I think L'Oreal do nice deodorants, yeah.
Okay. Well, I use right guard, but I can't really find the red one very often. But you are right, it is powdery.
Yeah, too powdery.
But I just give it a little rub in, it's nice.
I use the roll-on now, actually.
Do you?
I find it gives better protection.
Okay, that's interesting. I might try that out. So next, what is it? Next Code Red?
Next Code Red.
Did it come in like a packet with code green, code blue?
No. It just had a body wash, shower gel sort of thing.
One of those sets.
But that smelled very nice as well.
Okay. But you've long used that up, right?
Yeah, of course.
And the aftershave remains, because that stuff lasts forever.
Well, this is my second bottle. I've had 2 sets.
Ah, nice, okay. I'm a Paco Rabanne man, me.
Yeah.
Pour hom. I think that translates as for him.
Yeah. I always think you smell very nice too, so there we are.
Thank you very much. I think it's important for a person to have a
signature scent.
That's it, a signature scent.
Yeah. I mean, the good thing with getting a gift set off your mum is that you don't smell the same as all the other boys, unless it's a Lynx one. In fact, no, that's where all boys get the perfume from, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, well, my mum doesn't, because she's not getting me... What was the big one when we were in 3rd year? Diesel something.
Oh, I don't remember. I tell you what, there used to be 1 million or something by Paco Rabanne.
Yeah.
And it was like a gold bullion. And I do judge people actually based on the aftershave they wear. If you wear something like that, that's so cheesy, you know? A gold bullion looking aftershave container vessel.
You're only supposed to smell it.
I know, but what's the... Like, when that much effort has had to go into the packaging and marketing of your aftershave, you're paying for that when you buy that product. Like? Very simple, plain glass bottle. It's not even got a spraying mechanism.
Well, I bet that all tested very well with audiences.
Well, it's very nice, and I've never smelt it on anybody else. Perhaps that's because... Maybe it is awful. But anyway, have you ever tried Calvin Klein?
Yes, I have.
Yeah? Which one?
Calvin Klein Obsession.
Oh, yeah?
I think it was Dark Obsession.
Okay. Obsession is the name of one of their aftershaves. Anyway, I've never tried Calvin Klein. I know it's very popular. I'm glad that you've tried it. You might want to rethink using that if you ever plan on visiting India.
Okay.
There's some evidence to suggest that it can actually attract big cats.
No.
Oh, yes.
All Calvin Klein perfumes?
No, Obsession.
Oh, no. Well, it's run out.
So this is a story, okay? It's been in the news this week, but if you're not listening this week, doesn't matter. I think it's a big enough story. I think it's interesting.
Still a serious safety announcement.
So, for a couple of years now, in India, there's been a female tigress from the jungles of Maharashtra state. I think I probably butchered that. And this tigress has been terrorising local villagers. A total of 13 people are believed to have been killed by this tiger, including many herders who I'm assuming were tending to their cattle when they were killed. Apparently, actually, one victim was killed, but all of his livestock were unharmed. So it looks like this tiger was targeting people
human
in
flesh.
particular. Exactly, yeah. Now, do you know what happens when there's a man-eating tiger on the loose? What do you think's the protocol?
Panic?
Yeah, but what do you think, like, the local communities do? What do you think the government does? There's a man-eating tiger on the loose, eating people.
I know what I'd do, but I don't know whether that's what... I mean, I'd say stay in your houses. Don't go out, like...
Until when? Until the tiger dies?
Okay, then. We'll send out a party.
Yeah.
To kill the tiger.
To kill the tiger?
Well, what else?
No,
put it in a zoo.
That's pretty much... Well, yeah, that's pretty much it. So, a team of hunters were dispatched to tranquilise the tiger. And the hunters named the tiger T1. The idea was to relocate her to, I guess, either a zoo, as you say, or perhaps a region of India that is much less densely populated, perhaps.
Okay, yeah, relocate her to a quiet place where nobody cares who she kills.
Exactly, right. It's not that nobody cares who she kills, it's that there are some regions of India that are just jungle, and there aren't many people there, and then there are other regions where humans are encroaching on the fringes of jungle, which is not where you want a tiger to be, you know?
Yeah,
So this was the plan, relocate her. However, India's Supreme Court ruled that the team of hunters were actually allowed to kill the tiger if she failed to be tranquilised and or was a risk to the team tracking her, I suspect.
Yeah.
So how hard do you think it would be to track a tiger in the jungle of India?
Well, for me, near impossible, but I'm sure people have the skills.
It turned out to be very hard, though, nonetheless. So the hunters actually spent months tracking this tiger. The team consisted of 150 individuals, and they used methods like paragliders, infrared camera traps, treetop platform patrols. They used bait animals like goats and horses that they tied to trees. They even had sharpshooters mounted on the backs of elephants, like patrolling the jungle.
Seems like a lot of money.
Yeah, well, it's been billed as the most high-profile tiger hunt in decades. And leading the hunt was Nawab Shafath Ali Khan, who's apparently India's most famous hunter.
Okay.
So he was chief hunter.
Yeah, nice.
So after all of this trouble, bringing this tiger down, the hunters resorted to spraying bottles of Calvin Klein's Obsession for Men around the trap sites. And this is because this particular male perfume was found to be most appealing to jaguars in experiments at the Bronx Zoo in New York.
Okay.
And then the scent has also been successfully used in the field, and it was able to help some other Indian hunters trap a leopard a little while back. So it contains this pheromone called civetone, which is a smell derived from the civet.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure how they procure that, or if there's any cruelty involved. I know that civets are involved in some malpractices and animal rights abuses in Indonesia and the like.
Are they used for their skins as well?
Oh, they probably are, yeah. But anyway, I would hope not. I would hope Calvin Klein are synthetically creating this, but I'm not sure. But anyway, apparently this pheromone drives big cats crazy. So the hunters were thinking, might as well try it on T1. So this was big news. And I'm not sure if it will surprise you to learn that the hunt for T1 resulted in quite a lot of backlash from environmentalists. Wildlife campaigners, both India around the world, they made quite a few appeals against what they thought was a death sentence for T1 when India's court sort of said you can kill it.
Yeah.
And they actually renamed the tiger themselves, affectionately Avni, which translates to the earth in Indian languages.
Okay.
So T1, the hunters calling him T1, the campaigners calling it Avni. I like Avni. Bit nicer than T1. T1 sounds like a lab subject.
It sounds like a room or any sort of coordinate on an alphanumerical system. Or Taiwan.
Taiwan. T1.
I'm just a little bit disappointed because I thought you were going to say they discovered that the thing that all of the people who'd been killed had in common was that they were wearing Calvin Klein's Obsession. So I was really just waiting for that punchline and it never came.
No, I'm sorry. It's been demonstrated to attract big cats.
Yeah.
And at this point in my narrative, the hunters have deployed it. They've sprayed it on
deployed the Calvin Klein Obsession.
Exactly. But we're going down the environmentalist path now. So you can see where they're coming from. There's around 3,000 tigers left in the country, and around 70% of those are living on reserves.
Yeah.
The campaigners are really keen to preserve the wild tiger population, and in particular the 30% who are sort of roaming free. And also, I guess, just, simply respect the tiger's life, who is surely only responding in the way any dangerous predator would when its habitat is destroyed and fragmented and encroached upon,
Yeah. Well, so, I think they'd do it if that wasn't the case, but...
Well, no, but in particular when that's the case.
That's anthropomorphizing to the extreme, though, isn't it?
Do you reckon?
Yeah.
You don't think that just any predator would respond by eating prey items?
I think they'd eat us anyway. It's not a response. It's they're just eating us.
They'll eat more of us if we encroach on their habitat, simply through the increased frequency of how often we'd interact.
That's proximally because the habitat's degraded, but you were making it sound as if they just had a vengeance.
No, not at all. Their habitat's being destroyed, so they have less places to go. It's being fragmented, so they are restricted to smaller areas. And it's been encroached upon by humans, so humans are coming into interaction with them more often.
Yeah.
And also, some people have said that this rise in tiger attacks is due to a massive conservation success in India for tigers, which is home to 60% of the world's total population of tigers. And numbers have been rising since the 1970s. That was when they put a ban on hunting. And then there's been a really healthy increase since 2006, which is when India spent a lot of resources on protecting their tigers. Mm-hmm. But before that, between 1875 and 1925, there was an estimated 80,000 tigers killed, shot by hunters.
Wow.
And, I guess the population couldn't return to those numbers because...
Where would they go?
The country's so much more densely populated now with humans, and also so much of the land, I'm assuming, is now dedicated to agriculture and not suitable for tiger habitability.
Yeah.
But, it's a tough call, I think. What do you think? Should the hunt teams have been given this order to kill the tiger, or should they respect the tiger's freedom?
Well, it's very easy to sit here and say, don't kill the tiger. But if it was you that had been mauled, or my mum, I might say, yeah, kill the tiger. And I know what you're saying, like, well, we shouldn't have encroached on the tiger's space. But as you say, there are a lot of people in India, they need a lot of space.
Yeah. One of my favourite things to do when I go back home to the Isle of Wight is go out on a walk in the forests. There's a lovely little copse near my house that I often go on walks with my friends. And, I love how safe it is out there. I love that we don't have to worry about bear attacks and carry a gun around us like you do in Alaska or Canada or India.
The Anthropocene.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it. So the only reason those animals don't exist in the copse behind my house is because my ancestors killed them all.
Yeah. So is it not all right that people in India are still allowed to kill tigers if they don't want them roaming around everywhere?
Exactly. Some days they must be like, I could literally get eaten by a tiger. I'm going to go out, I'm going to take my cattle out and graze them, and I may get eaten by a tiger.
Well, you probably will if you're wearing Calvin Klein Obsession. I don't want a tiger infringing on the freedom of what I can smell like.
I cannot imagine living in a region where tigers are a genuine threat and where they, like you say, killed and eaten your friends and relatives.
And it was a last resort. Like, they'd had a lot of attempts to tranquilise, yeah?
Exactly.
Yeah, kill it.
I think what happened is the campaigners were sceptical that there was enough evidence actually linking this particular tigress to the killings.
Yeah.
And they were maybe worried that now that the High Court had ruled that they could kill the tiger, they might not hesitate. They might not even try to tranquilise. Which is, and you've just said kill the tiger, so you might be happy to hear this, but that is actually what has potentially happened. A few days ago, the news broke across the internet that the tigress was shot dead.
Yeah, it's sad when you put it like that.
Yeah.
But I mean, she did kill 13 people in 2 years. There are a lot of places where a person would be killed for that.
But but animals can't be held to the same laws as humans. They don't understand them.
No, very true, very true.
I have to say, actually, just quickly before moving on, you said if the tiger had killed me.
Yeah.
Well, actually, you said me, and then I think you maybe hesitated, and then you changed to your mum. If it was me and I was killed by a tiger, I wouldn't want that tiger to be killed.
Well, that's why I changed it.
Okay, I see. Your mum would she? She'd be like, yeah, kill it.
I can't imagine her ever saying those words, but I think she'd appreciate the gesture.
Okay. Anyway, okay, all right. So after hearing reports of the tiger in a particular region, Asghar Ali Khan, who is the son of the lead hunter that we met earlier on, he went looking for her and shot her after sundown with a Winchester Magnum rifle. And he says that the tiger was charging his team and that they were thus in extreme danger. So he had no choice but to shoot her.
Yeah.
Quite a few figures have voiced suspicion over this turn of events. They're a little bit sceptical that this hunter was able to identify the tigress at night. They don't understand why he didn't dart her first. They say, like, if you shoot a tiger with a dart, then it runs away. So that would have stopped it charging, but I don't know. Really.
Yeah. I mean, if somebody told me that, I'm not sure I'd believe them.
But crucially, one thing that has got people up in arms is that Avni had 2 one-year-old cubs with her.
Oh.
And they've since gone missing.
Gen.
They've since gone missing, but there's a search underway for them. And the plan at the moment is to relocate them to a safari park or zoo. But I don't know, they might shoot them too. I'm fairly on the fence with this issue. I don't live in India. I don't know what it's like to have my life threatened by man-eating tigers. But I can't help but feel really sad that a tiger's dead and 2 cubs are left alone. You know?
Yeah.
And just bringing it back to Calvin Klein. If you are listening in India or other regions of the world where big cats are around, don't worry too much because apparently the scent didn't work in the end.
Yeah, but it's worked for a lot more animals, big cats. Like,
that's true. All right, okay, just in India.
Around the world, don't be wearing Calvin Klein Obsession because it's attracting dangerous animals. What did you say? Jaguars?
Yeah, okay. Actually, I don't want to say don't worry because I don't want somebody to sue me when they wear it and then they get mauled to death.
I don't think you'd be first on the list. I think Calvin's up there.
I wanted to smooth things over with Calvin Klein. This must be a PR disaster for them. Imagine working at Calvin Klein and then some scientific study comes out from the Bronx Zoo in London. They're like, oh yeah, this scent attracts man-eating tigers.
I don't think they'll just stop the line.
Oh, Obsession, it's their longest going line, isn't it? I don't know about that.
I don't know.
But anyway, apparently this tiger was too clever for the clone. Mr. Asghar said, we are dealing with an extraordinarily smart tiger.
Yeah.
So yeah, as you say, I guess you only have to worry about leopards, jaguars in South and Central America, and I guess all the other tigers that may also be attracted to Calvin Klein's Obsession.
Yeah. And if you're Calvin Klein, you have to worry about going bankrupt.
Well, they sell enough pants, don't they?
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. If you were to go down to your local tourist attraction, the Natural History Museum...
It's not really local.
Well, it's in London.
Yeah.
It's got over 1 million bird eggs, apparently.
Oh, yeah?
So it's actually illegal nowadays to collect wild bird eggs. But in the 1800s, naturalists were, obsessed with them. And I think it's pretty easy to understand why.
I mean, it kind of is. Victorians loved all that stuff.
Oh, they look nice.
Oh, okay. So ornamental.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's lots of things in the Natural History Museum that people aren't allowed to collect now.
Yeah.
Like all those hummingbirds. The dodo.
Yeah, it is all pretty sad. But, they're there as a scientific record.
Yeah.
So birds are amniotes, as are we, and the rest of the mammals, and reptiles. So, you know what an amniote is, yeah?
Yeah, it's an organism that grows in an amniotic sac, right?
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Like we do in our mother's bellies, and a bird does in the egg.
Yeah. So yeah, it's got the amniote, the amnion, which is filled with amniotic fluid, and this provides a stable environment for the embryo to grow.
Yeah, I've never really understood that because we have homeostasis in our bodies anyway, right? So I don't understand why you need another stable environment. I don't know.
Well, we evolved in water, didn't we? Life. So like a frog's egg or whatever.
A frog's egg is just like a fish's egg, except it's evolved to be, you can lay it on land.
Mm.
Yeah, that's what all life is. Yeah, so we're still born in the water. It's just that the section of the water that we're born in is contained within a sac inside the abdomen of females.
Okay, yeah, and it's not water; it's amniotic fluid. But okay.
Yeah, but that's pretty much water. That's the amniotic fluid is just trying to provide the conditions that would otherwise be provided by water. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Okay.
As well as this, birds and reptiles, of course, also have shells, which are an adaptation to terrestriality. So they stop the eggs drying out and they still let air go into the embryo. Of course, we don't need that because, well, I guess the womb is the shell.
Yeah.
Or,
the human is the shell.
Yeah, the human is the shell. The mother.
Yeah, that blows my mind because that means that our shells are able to fight back and move. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Our shell is literally a human.
Yeah, you're right. Oh, that's great. Well, not anymore.
What do you mean?
Your mum is no longer your shell.
No, but I don't need a shell. I've hatched.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah.
So, of all of the amniotes, birds are the only ones that have coloured shells, unless you're going through for your theory and you're like, well, my mum's got a green jumper, so I had a coloured shell.
No, I get it. Yeah.
So why do you think that birds have coloured shells?
I honestly didn't know that reptiles didn't have coloured shells.
Well, they don't.
Now that I think of it, that seems quite obvious to me. I don't think I've ever seen a coloured reptile shell, and you're telling me that's because they don't exist.
Yeah.
So, yeah, okay. Why do I think birds have coloured shells? I know in the case of some birds, like reed warblers, they have evolved to have complex patterns on their shells that are difficult for the cuckoos who parasitize their nests and lay their own eggs in their nests. It enables the warbler to distinguish between the cuckoo's egg, and its own egg.
Yeah.
So it doesn't waste time sitting on the cuckoo's egg when it should be sitting on its own egg.
So there you go. You've got two reasons in one there for the evolution of coloured eggshells. You've got to evade a parasite and to become a more effective parasite, because the cuckoo also evolves egg pigmentation.
Yeah, yes, it's coevolution. There's this arms race between the cuckoo and the reed warbler, wherein the cuckoo is constantly trying to better mimic the reed warbler's egg, while the reed warbler is constantly trying to produce an egg that is distinguishable from the cuckoo's.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So, parasites, go on, what other reasons might bird eggs evolve?
Camouflage?
Yeah, so camouflaging them against predators. So all of those reasons for why birds' eggs have evolved colour hinge on one essential fact, right? That something's going to see the eggs.
Yes.
So crocodiles, which are birds' closest living relatives, bury their eggs, and their eggs also lack pigmentation, because why would you need it? Why, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So this led to the accepted notion that egg colour evolved independently multiple times during the modern bird lineage. Once again, it turns out that birds have been taking way too much credit for evolutionary innovations that they didn't come up with. In fact, the trait evolved much earlier, just like feathers, in the dinosaurs.
Nice.
So birds coloured their eggs using two specific pigments. One, I'm not going to read out the chemical names because who cares?
Yeah.
One of them is like a reddy brown. I should have got the Bob Ross colours.
Oh, burnt umber.
Yeah, and one of them is like a bluey green.
Aquamarine.
Yeah, maybe. And so they used high resolution microspectroscopy on fossilized fragments of eggshells, and scientists found exactly the same pigments in all of the, I'm going to try and say this now, Humaniraptoran dinosaur eggs. So all the Humaniraptors have coloured eggs as well.
Okay.
Probably the most famous species in this group is the Velociraptor.
Ah, cool.
As made famous by Jurassic Park. Also one of our favourites, Sinornithosaurus.
Oh, you love Sinornithosaurus.
It just comes up so often. Like, I don't know how it manages to get into all these stories.
Just rolls off the tongue nowadays, doesn't it?
I know, it's perfect.
Yeah.
There aren't any other big names apart from that, but what do you expect when history's been birdwashed?
Birdwashed. Thank you for giving me a name for the podcast.
You're welcome. The scientists were also able to map the pigment over the egg surface, so they could show, as well as having coloration, that some of the species had speckled or spotted eggs. Mm-hmm. And they in fact conclude, some may say a bit prematurely, that the diversity in egg coloration approaches that seen in living birds now.
So what does that suggest?
Their eggs are as different as birds are now. And so then if we think about the reasons that we thought birds had evolved it, surely if it's exactly the same, then why wouldn't they also apply to dinosaurs?
That's not surprising, right? Like, it makes total sense that dinosaurs would have just as diverse colour patterns on their eggs than modern day birds do.
Well, yeah, because neatly, the evolution of egg coloration seems to coincide nicely with the evolution of more open nesting in dinosaurs. So these Humaniraptoran dinosaurs mostly partially bury their eggs, so they'll just have the bottom of it in sand or mud or whatever, and the top of the egg will be exposed.
Oh, okay, so prior to that, is the suggestion that dinosaurs just buried their eggs?
Yeah, well, I think there was probably like a bit of variation, but this clade had them open.
I think that's really cool. I wonder when the nests moved from the ground into the trees.
Well, yeah, so obviously because they also had extant birds in this analysis, there was variation in the birds at the moment, whether they were nest layers. Because in a nest, it's actually really completely exposed. It's never buried in a nest. Nests are like open structures, really.
Yeah.
Because you've got to sit on it.
I really like that. I think it's really cool.
I think it's cool that even though they had some, like, broken bits of eggshell, it sheds new light onto the behaviour of dinosaurs and how they nested. So if we think that these are elaborately patterned eggs for recognising their own offspring in communal nests or, like, evading nest parasites, then it opens up all kinds of questions like, what was the cuckoo of the dinosaur world and things like that.
Yeah. The implications of ecology.
Yeah, the implication says that they had to evolve this for a reason. So which dinosaurs were filling those niches?
Well, I absolutely think there probably were cuckoo dinosaurs.
I mean, it could have been not a dinosaur, but...
I think it probably likely to have been a dinosaur. I don't know if there are any other contemporary animals that exhibit brood parasitism. Maybe fish. Perhaps fish do it, but
loads
I'm
of
not
things
sure.
do it.
I think when you're parasitising something, like brood parasitism, when you're laying an egg, you have to be quite similar anatomically to the species that you are parasitising. Because you need to be laying an egg that resembles their egg. A frog couldn't parasitise.
Yeah, but some things aren't as clever as birds. But I think brood parasitism is like a... I know some insects can do it, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah, actually, of course. Of course they can. But when you think about something as clever as a dinosaur, relatively speaking, when you compare it to an insect, I feel like a dinosaur could only be parasitised by another dinosaur.
Yeah. I think that's a fair enough assumption.
I really hope they discover a cuckoo dinosaur.
Something new for the Jurassic Park, anyway. If Hollywood dares to tackle the birdwashing conspiracy.
I can totally see that now, actually. Sorry, I'm just thinking of paleontologists. They've just discovered this in, I don't know, the plains of Argentina. They've just dug this up. It's a perfectly preserved... What were they called, these raptors?
Humaniraptoran.
So there's this Humaniraptor, and they've just unearthed it, and it's sitting on a nest of eggs, perfectly preserved. But the dinosaurs that have hatched out of the egg don't match the Unamiraptor. Is that how it is? Umami raptor?
Just say Sinornithosaurus for sure.
You know, there we go. A moment of brood parasitism captured, fossilised in history.
Yeah, maybe they were too good at detecting brood parasitism. Maybe a successful parasite had never evolved during the dinosaur lineage. You don't know that.
And then there were other factors driving the coloration of eggs.
Well, camouflage, because it's only half buried in the ground. So something that looks like a big pile of soil is going to attract a predator less than something that looks like an egg in soil.
I think the dinosaurs ruled the Earth. Dinosaurs were the dominant species or dominant group of animals on Earth. And they were for, over 100 million years. In that time, I think it's almost a certainty that brood parasitism, which we see today in bird species who don't dominate the Earth, I think it's almost a certainty that they would have arisen at some point. I'm going to say in the Triassic.
Okay.
I'm not going to say in the Triassic. That'd be the worst time to choose. I'm going to say in the Cretaceous.
What's the timeline?
Triassic, Jurassic, Cretaceous.
Okay, it could be in the Cretaceous then, yeah.
The Triassic, dinosaurs only really turned up at the end.
Yeah, I think the Triassic, you're too early.
Yeah. Maybe the Jurassic, nobody thinks about that one. Yeah, okay, they do. That's really good. I really like that. I'm a little bit annoyed because I think that segment should have been Dinosaur of the Month. It's been a few episodes since we last went into space, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So it's only inevitable, isn't it?
But it doesn't seem like that long since we went to space, because at the aforementioned Halloween party, you got your telescope out for us.
Oh, I did. And you got to see the moon.
I did. I got to see the moon.
And you loved it, didn't you?
Yeah.
Don't say it like that. You loved it.
I liked the experience, having a little go on the telescope. I was, of course, I had an eye patch at the time.
As pop-up pirate, yeah.
So that did add to the effect, I think. Yeah, it was good, yeah, the moon.
You should see Saturn. Saturn's the absolute best.
Okay.
It really is mind-blowing. But I remember the first time I saw the moon through a telescope, and I loved it.
So where are we off to this week?
Previously, of course, we visited Pluto. We've gone all the way out to Alpha Centauri, and, as you say, our glorious moon. But this week, we won't actually be leaving Earth orbit.
Oh. So are we going to space, then? What qualifies as being in space?
Being outside of the atmosphere.
Okay.
That's where space is. It's just empty space, isn't it?
I don't know what Earth orbit is, then.
So Earth orbit is just... The International Space Station, for example, is in Earth orbit. All the satellites orbiting the Earth, they're in Earth orbit. You have low Earth orbit, high Earth orbit. You have geostationary orbit. That's where some satellites, they get put up and then they will stay above that particular part of the Earth constantly. And you have to get the right velocity and the right distance from Earth to have that sort of geostationary orbit. All the others, of course, are travelling around the Earth. Like the International Space Station, I think, orbits the Earth every 90 minutes. It's super fast.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what it is, right? Essentially, if you wanted to go to the moon, you would put your rocket in orbit of Earth, and then you would build your orbit of Earth. You'd make it bigger and bigger and bigger until you captured the moon. And then your orbit, as you orbit the Earth, your orbit's so large that at one point in your orbit you would intercept the moon and the moon's
Wait a second,
gravity.
the moon is in orbit?
Yes.
So the moon isn't in the Earth's atmosphere.
No, I know. It is in space, though.
So if the moon is in orbit, then we could be going to the moon this week.
Yeah, okay, that's a good point. We're not going quite as far away as the moon, then.
Okay.
What do you know about the economics of space flight?
It's expensive.
Why is it expensive?
Lot of technology. It's cost a lot to get off the ground, you know. Fuel's probably expensive.
Fuel costs, I think, are the killer.
Really?
Yeah, rockets absolutely devour fuel.
Okay, yeah.
So let's take Saturn V, for example. Do you know Saturn V?
No.
That is the rocket from NASA's Apollo missions.
Okay.
So what we had was a big old rocket. At the top of it was the lunar module and the command module.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that. I think I had a toy of it, but I didn't remember it was called Saturn V.
Okay.
But I know the iconic outline.
So the majority of the rocket is just to get those modules up into space.
Into orbit.
Into orbit, yeah.
Yeah.
And then obviously it needs to build its orbit to the moon, then it needs to burn to be in orbit of the moon instead of just escaping past the moon, and then it needs to burn, come back. But the majority of the fuel is burned up in getting it out of Earth's atmosphere.
Yeah.
Because the atmosphere is thick, it's hard to escape from, and you know the effects of gravity and the weight of the rocket.
Yeah.
So using Saturn V as our example, at launch it guzzled. I'm using the word guzzled here because
Glug.
it glugged up to 20 tons of fuel every second.
Wow.
Yeah. In comparison, do you know Charles Lindbergh?
Yes, I really have heard of it. Is he an aviator?
Yes, very famous aviator, the first person to cross the Atlantic in an aeroplane.
Yeah.
In a tenth of a second, Saturn V used up 10 times the amount of fuel that Lindbergh needed for his entire trip.
Wow. And I'm sure that the engine is a lot more efficient.
And it had many engines as well, Saturn V. Maybe 5. That might be why it's 5, I'm not sure. Anyway, fully fueled, the rocket weighed 2.8 million kilos. I know I just used tons.
I know, I was just going to say.
I'm switching to the metric system now, sue me. All right. The total payload, that is the lunar lander and the command module, that weighed just 41,000 kilos. So the whole rocket, 2.8 million kilos. The actual thing that they're putting up there, 41,000 kilos. So that's less than 1.5% the total weight of the fully fueled rocket.
Yeah.
All of that amount of fuel involved. Now, that doesn't sound very efficient, does it? It sounds really expensive, and obviously it is. As of today, it costs more than $20,000 to put a single kilogram into space. And I've calculated that to be around $1.2 million for the average human. Obviously, this isn't sustainable. If we want to become a spacefaring nation, we can't be paying $1.2 million to get humans into space.
No.
So unless there's a big change, we won't be looking at Ryanair-style budget flights to the moon anytime soon. What's the solution then? Have you got any ideas?
Right, so cheaper fuel. Start a war in Iraq?
So just about getting cheaper fuel.
Because the solar just isn't good enough, is it?
No, it's good for lightweight objects.
Yeah.
But I don't think we've quite got there with capturing. Like, for example, when we talked about the laser solar sails.
Yeah.
Heading to Alpha Centauri, that works because the actual structure is so lightweight. But you know, if you want to put, what was it, 41,000 kilos into space, it's going to have to be a big old solar sail.
Yeah. No, I don't know. I can't. Go on.
So one thing some people might think of is these reusable rockets, which is something that SpaceX are championing. And that's obviously really good for limiting space junk and obviously drives the cost down somewhat because you can just refuel the rockets but still have the issue with fuel consumption. So for quite a while now, scientists have been proposing a solution called the space elevator.
Okay, yes, I have heard of this.
You've heard of this, okay. Now, I'd heard of it, but it wasn't actually until this week that I read up on what it would look like, how it would work, and in all honesty, I thought it was total science fiction. I didn't realise that it was a genuine solution that people were proposing. How familiar are you with a space elevator?
I'm not greatly familiar with it. I've had it described to me a long time ago.
Okay, all right.
So I could do with a reintroduction.
Okay, I'll give you that. So the elevator consists of 4 essential components. Number 1 is this tether or cable, which reaches from the Earth into space. Mm-hmm. So it goes all the way through the atmosphere and into space. At the end of the tether on Earth, you need an anchor, which would secure the tether to the Earth. On the other end of the tether, you would need a counterweight, which would pull, due to centrifugal forces, it would pull the tether taut.
Yeah,
so
it would like pull it back the other way.
Exactly.
Out into space, yeah, okay.
Yeah. And then the final component is a climber, which is like an elevator carriage, which climbs up the tether and delivers your payload from Earth.
I mean, doesn't that sound absolutely terrifying? You wouldn't get me in one of those. You can barely get me on a real escalator.
My brother's very uncomfortable with escalators, actually.
Yeah, coming down, especially the ones with open on either side. No, I feel sick.
Yeah, George doesn't like the down ones, I think. I always forget which one it is. I think it's the down ones.
London Underground as well, like too steep, too long.
Essentially, what this elevator looks like is, imagine you have a piece of string with a weighted ball on the end.
Yeah.
If you spin it round you, then the string is held taut, yeah?
I don't think you can do that with health and safety nowadays.
Do it in a field when nobody's around and under parental supervision.
Yeah, and with goggles.
With goggles and a hard hat.
Yeah.
And spin it round, and it will be held taut, won't it, through the centrifugal forces. Imagine then that you have an ant on your hand, and the ant was just climbing along the string until it went from your hand to the ball at the end. It will now be travelling at an unbelievable speed, and it will have travelled in that direction with just the energy required to walk along the string, yeah?
Yeah.
So that's how it works, basically. There's a great video from the YouTube channel In a Nutshell on this topic, and they explain it a lot better than I just did. So I'll include that in the show notes for anybody who's interested in knowing a bit more. Now, the reason this is more fuel efficient for putting payloads into space is because all you need to concern yourself with is powering the payload up the tether. A rocket, however, needs to burn fuel to generate both vertical and horizontal velocity, because it's going to be put into Earth orbit. A rocket, when it goes up, doesn't just go up vertically. It starts going up vertically, and then it tilts over until it's travelling in a horizontal direction around the Earth, so that it's constantly travelling at the speed that, although Earth is pulling it back towards itself, it's simply falling ahead of the Earth. And that's when you're in orbit.
Okay.
With this space elevator idea, all you have to do is go up vertically, because the horizontal velocity is provided by the spinning of the Earth.
Yeah.
And I guess also the climber, the carriage, would also have something to grip on. So it can slowly travel up the cable, as opposed to a rocket, which is constantly fighting gravity.
To power the climber, I don't think would be a difficulty at all. You could plug it into the mains. I mean, maybe not, but like, you could use electricity because it's connected to the ground. Maybe even a turbine.
Or a turbine, or something like that. I think some ideas have included nuclear reactors as well.
Oh, okay.
Well,
yeah, I guess they are quite heavy things.
Might be.
I just worry all of these kind of, the whole escalator, even, when you go up on a roller coaster.
Yeah.
And you're like on a chain, or is that how we do it?
What do you mean on a chain? You're on like on a rail.
No, but as you're climbing up to the top of the roller coaster, you're on like a chain, aren't you?
Oh, maybe. Oh, right, yes. Yeah. You are on pretty much
dragged
like
to the top, like.
Yeah.
Ooh,
and then
the anxiety of falling down is horrible. I just, worry about the space elevator dropping loads of stuff. But I guess that's the same as a rocket falling out of the sky.
Yeah, I think it kind of is. I think if you're looking to go to space, you need to be putting a lot of faith in your technology.
Could they create something more like a paternoster?
What's a paternoster?
It's like a type of elevator, but like a perpetual motion one. I know perpetual motion doesn't exist, like they're obviously electrified as well nowadays. They've got one in the University of Sheffield Library. So you have like two elevator shafts side by side, and they just go round and round in a circle. And once like a compartment gets to the top, it spins around and then comes down the other side. So one side is always going up and one side is always coming down.
Yeah, right. So the side that's going up is being pulled up by the weight of the other side being pulled down.
Yeah, so you could just have a big row of skips or something.
Skips?
Yeah, well, you're going to need big things to transport things to space. Skips with lids. And then...
Yeah, I was thinking it's going to be a bit more plush than that.
Well, something skip-shaped.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
I think the actual way that it would look, I don't know, perhaps that is a good idea. Perhaps you could have an express tether or cable where you go up really fast. Perhaps you could have one that goes at a more leisurely pace.
For lighter items. Or I guess actually they could just put heavier things on the downside and it'd drag it round faster.
It would be more like a spaceship, right, I imagine. Or like a cruise liner, essentially, being pulled up, I imagine. And you'd have your own accommodation.
Oh, I wasn't talking for people. I was still talking for components. But yeah, of course, for people, there'd be...
okay, for
transport.
Or a container. It'd just be a ship, basically. And it's connected to this tether and it climbs up. I think it would take several days to get up the full way.
I hope there's not windows. I guess that's what people would want, isn't it? I'd want the blinds shut.
Yeah, you probably would pay less for a cabin that didn't have windows.
Perfect.
At the bottom, at the anchor, you'd have the space port where everybody arrives, and then you'd have the spaceship climbing up the tether, and then at the counterweight, you'd probably have a space station built around it where all operations would be conducted. There'd probably be scientists doing little experiments. It's so cool. It's physically, this is possible. Why aren't we building it, Adam?
Have we got the material to make the cord?
This is what I wanted you to bring up. Finances aside, I think if everybody wanted this to build a space elevator, I think we could get the money to do that.
Yeah.
To invest in the research, set a deadline, and bloody build the thing. I think we could.
Spider silk.
Yeah, all right. I'm not going to go down that line, but you're right. The main thing holding us back is the material issue.
Yeah.
The tether would need to consist of an extremely lightweight, but incredibly strong and ultimately inexpensive material. Because you'd need so much of it. Spider silk probably wouldn't cut the mustard. Now think about how strong this thing needs to be. It needs to support this counterweight.
I'm not talking about one strand of spider silk.
I know,
obviously.
but even loads of spider silk. I just don't think that. I don't think this, whatever we come up with, will be biological in nature.
Okay.
It will be synthetic. Think about how strong this thing needs to be. It needs to connect this counterweight to the Earth. It needs to have enough support on it for this climber to climb up it. It needs to withstand environmental effects in the atmosphere. It needs to withstand radiation outside of the atmosphere. The problem thus far has been a material issue. NASA launched a competition quite a few years ago for the development of material with the required properties for the space elevator, and they attached a $2 million prize. But alas, nobody has claimed the prize, and this material continued to elude us.
Oh.
Until now.
Oh.
A team of researchers in China say they've created a fibre so strong that 1 cubic centimetre of the material could withstand the weight of 160 elephants. That cubic centimetre would weigh just 1.6 grams.
Yeah. What is it?
It's a fibre that consists of carbon nanotube bundles. We like carbon nanotubes.
Yeah.
In the words of the researchers, it's 9 to 45 times as strong as any other material. I know.
What sort of a claim is that?
I know. I think that might have been taken from a study. I was just reading an article where they were testing it against other materials.
Okay.
And so some materials it's 9 times stronger than, some materials, like spider silk, it's 45 times as strong as.
I reckon spider silk it'll only be 9 times as strong as. It's notoriously strong. Stronger than steel.
Stronger than carbon nanotube bundles? No way.
Okay.
But you're right. Otherwise, if that isn't the case, then there's quite a bit of variability there.
Yeah.
9 to 45, yeah.
Also that it's 9 times stronger. At least 9 times stronger than any material. Maybe that's true.
So the applications for this material include this space elevator, as well as ballistic armour, aeronautics, sports equipment, etc. Sports equipment always get all the little nanotubes and stuff, don't they?
They do. The tennis rackets, I remember telling you about that and you being like, you're kicking off about it.
No, you're absolutely right, I think sports equipment is crazy for guzzling up technology. But perhaps we'll see this material used in space elevators. Yeah. According to NASA, for this competition that I mentioned, the material that they wanted would need to withstand 7 gigapascals of stretching or pressure. But this material has a tensile strength of 80 gigapascals.
I didn't know you could measure. Well, I know you measure pressure in pascals, but...
Are you measuring the amount of tension something could take? Is it tension? Is it
in pascals?
Pressure?
It's pressure. Like, I would have thought it would have been units of force in newtons or something. I also have no idea what a pascal. Well, I do, but like...
Nah, I don't really know what... When you get to giga as well, like, we've done this before. Like, that's kind of why earlier on I switched from tons to kilograms. It doesn't matter. When you're dealing with huge numbers, who cares?
Big. Yeah. It's a need to withstand a lot of pressure.
So yeah. Anyway, this is what these researchers say they've come up with. They're now going to try and mass produce it, see how they can produce it. Hopefully they'll be able to produce it inexpensively, and we'll be able to build a space elevator out of it.
Can't wait. So when I was a kid, one of the big topics of conversation among the boys, that I wanted nothing to do with, along with football and the football PlayStation game, was zombie apocalypses.
Yeah. Not when you were a kid, when you were a teenager.
Yeah, when I was a teenager, yeah, that's what I mean. They talked about it literally all the time, though. Have you spent much time thinking about it? Is this something people did in your school?
It's a bit of a losery thing to admit, but yeah, like when I was a teenager, we did used to be like, how would you cope with the zombie apocalypse? Yeah. And we did have little plans, and we all sort of rated each other's plans, and we were like, oh yeah, that's a good idea, I'll come with you. Yeah,
were you one that was highly prized in the apocalypse, or?
No, probably not.
I imagine
actually.
You'd be quite good though. You understand nature, like you'd be able to find your way around the forest.
I've always thought I would immediately head for the sea. I would commandeer a boat and I would just go and live in the sea, and I'd take a fishing rod and as many non-perishable goods as I possibly could with me, and just go and moor up somewhere, maybe off the coast of the Isle of Wight. Just watch the world burn.
Well, as long as they can't swim.
Well, this is the thing. Have you read World War Z?
No.
Oh, I mean, I know you think you won't like it. I know you hate science fiction, and judging by the way that this segment has started, you probably don't like zombies either, but it is...
What are you talking about?
It is fantastic.
Okay.
It is brilliant. Every single chapter is like from a different person who was going through
God, I do hate that, though.
No.
Anthology stories. No, I don't know why people pretend they're good.
No, because there's a narrative that builds... So it starts off with somebody...
They're the worst ones.
No, you're wrong. It's fantastic. It's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. And there's a chapter, and the chapter's quite long, but there's one about I think they're Japanese, and they're on a nuclear submarine, and they take all of their family down into this nuclear submarine. They're like evading the Navy, who are hunting them, some of the other submarines, because these guys have all fled. And they like move to different islands. They stay under the water for a long time, and then one time they hear a load of banging on the outside of the submarine, and they look through the periscope, and the sea floor and their submarine is just covered in zombies. It's brilliant. It's horrifying to think that all of these zombies, they just don't die, so they just live under the water. Yeah, the whole planet's covered in them. It's amazing. Sorry, go on, continue with your piece.
Right, I've got it right. So let's take it back to zombies. Zombies are actually all over the place in nature. I'll give you a few famous examples, but I'm sure you know these. Bullet ants that get infected with Ophiocordyceps fungi that make them climb up high into the trees before the fungus like literally explodes out of the head and rains down on the other ants and infects them below.
Yeah.
It's a nasty one. There's a type of flatworm that snails pick up from bird droppings, and they like infest the snail's eye stalks and turn them into brightly coloured throbbing organs
that attract other birds
to eat them, thus recruiting more snails because they're pooing out the flatworm eggs again.
There's a brilliant video actually of that I'm sure I'll be able to find on YouTube, and I'll put that in the show notes. It is fascinating. Yeah, zombification does occur in nature. I don't know, is cordyceps zombification? I know it's mind control, but is the organism dead?
Is a zombie dead?
Yeah. The zombie is the reanimated dead.
Well, I don't think that happens then.
Okay. Infected. The infected of films like 28 Days Later, they're not dead, I guess.
Yeah.
They're just infected with a disease that makes them behave differently. That's just a virus controlling their behaviour, which is what cordyceps does. The cordyceps fungus controls the behaviour of an ant, tells it to move into conditions that will be more favourable for the cordyceps to thrive.
Yeah, same with the flatworms, right? They make the snails like crawl out of the bush or whatever, have these throbbing eye stalks, and then they get picked up and the life cycle continues. But one of the most interesting examples, I think, I'm sure you will have heard of this one as well, is the zombification of the American cockroach by emerald jewel wasps.
I don't know if I have heard of this one.
So as you might know, most parasitic insects paralyse the victims with a sting, or just fill it with the eggs and let it slowly get eaten from the inside. But the emerald jewel wasp has a bit more of an obstacle to get over, because they have to get their host, they have to get the cockroach into a suitable chamber for the larvae to develop in. And the cockroach is a lot bigger than the wasp, so how's it going to do that, right? What it does is use an initial sting to temporarily paralyse the front legs, and then a second sting directly into the brain, which leaves the cockroach able to walk and run and fly and swim after like half an hour, but it just doesn't. Like, it's just a vegetable. Can you say that about a cockroach?
I think you... What a question. That's a scientific term, isn't it? Vegetative state.
Yeah, but I don't... Yeah. So it's vegetable.
But cockroaches in particular, I think, so is vegetable. Vegetable isn't. Vegetable is not.
That's culinary, you're right. Yeah. Sorry.
All right, yeah.
The cockroach just, completely loses interest in just doesn't do anything unless the wasp stimulates it. And it does so by latching onto the antennae and literally like walking it like it's a dog on a lead.
Oh my goodness.
Have you not seen the videos of this?
No.
Okay. So that's what it does, yeah? It controls the antennae and walks it to a suitable place for the larvae to develop before inserting the eggs.
Does it pull like the right antennae to go right and the left antennae to go left?
I think it's from electrical stimulation or somehow.
Christ alive, this is crazy.
Yeah, it's so clever. It's so specialised. It's like so scary, actually. Let me try and find a video of the parasitisation. I do have another video for you, but I think you should see it. Hang on, I'm just sending it now.
Okay.
What you can see, I've paused it at the right time, is that like the cockroach is moving all of its legs. The wasp is just like guiding it with its antennae.
Let me have a look.
Just like walking a dog.
Okay, I'm watching. This is a great video. Oh, it's almost like it's just pulling it.
Yeah, but it's not. Because look at the size of the wasp compared to the size of the cockroach.
Yeah, you can totally see that the cockroach is kind of like coordinating.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, that's so
But it
creepy.
wouldn't do that without it. So, you know when they used to do electroshock treatment? It seems a bit like that, but except the wasp has injected poison into its brain.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, God, this is gruesome.
It is. But luckily, if people are frightened, there's a new paper out in Brain, Behaviour and Evolution called How Not to Be Turned into a Zombie. Nice name for a scientific paper, right?
Yeah.
And I've got a treat for you. I've put together a little video.
Oh, I love it when you do this.
So that you can look at the techniques uncovered by this paper of how not to be turned into a zombie.
Okay.
Okay.
Hardly anybody watches these videos, you know.
I'm not bothered. It's for you.
Neither am I. Like the one that we did with the Anoles, I uploaded to our YouTube channel, and it's an unlisted video, so you can only see it if you have the link, and it's in the show notes.
Yeah.
It's got hardly anybody actually. Do people bother with the show notes? I don't know what. I spent so long putting them together.
I look at them.
Good. All right. Well, we're doing this for each other, right? So
Yeah.
That's all that matters. Okay. Right. I'm watching. Oh, I love that you've done this. I hope you've narrated it. So to explain what I'm watching to our listeners, I'm watching a cockroach kick the wasp in the head, timed to the moments in the song Everybody Was Kung Fu Fighting.
Yeah.
Which is very good. It's very artistic the way that you've put that together.
Thank you. That's what I did with last night. So you described it quite well. It's not the hardest thing in the world to describe, but the cockroaches in the video are showing a number of different strategies to overcome the wasp. Not only are they doing the kicking, which I'll admit is the most striking thing, and timed to music, so you've all led to it, but they're also lifting the bodies up off the ground, bringing the necks out of reach. This is what the paper says anyway, but I was like, surely the parasitic wasps can fly, so... And the cockroaches, I guess.
Maybe they can't parasitise when they fly. Maybe they have to be landed to parasitise.
A wasp can't sting when it flies.
An emerald jewel wasp or whatever it's called might not be able to.
And the cockroaches will also try and bite at the abdomens of wasps that are going in for a sting. So, you know, they put up a bit of a fight. But not all cockroaches do put up a fight. Not all of them notice even, probably. And unfortunately, the young cockroaches are pretty crap and can't defend themselves. Of the adults that try, though, 63% could hold the parasitoid off with these tactics. So even though the parasitoid has evolved this incredibly elaborate system of injecting poison twice in such a specific way that it can control the behaviour of the cockroach with the antenna, 63% of the time, it doesn't even get a chance to do it. But I guess every single jewel wasp alive has hatched out of a cockroach in the past.
Oh, that's so weird.
Yeah.
You say that, but that's only 63% of the time when they target adult cockroaches. And I don't think it's too difficult to suspect that perhaps the wasps target juvenile cockroaches.
Yeah.
Because just like lions don't target adult wildebeest or buffalo, they're going to go for the frail ones, aren't they?
Well, they're going to go for the ones that don't put up a fight.
Which are the frail ones, the elderly, the infirm, the young. So I think perhaps the wasp could have a similar method. It could target those individuals and it would have a much higher success rate.
Yeah.
Totally makes sense that an animal in its prime is able to fight off, parasitism.
Literally kicking away,
Yeah.
becoming a zombie. The abstract ends with, I think, a nice little quote. Thus, for a cockroach not to become a zombie, the best strategy is be vigilant, protect your throat, and strike repeatedly at the head of the attacker. I just love it when a paper gives that helpful little advice that you can use in everyday life.
Everyday life.
Yeah.